Guys, it is my final episode of being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And I'm joined alongside my two good friends who have made big contributions on this platform, Jersey Joe and Jim Biringer. There's so much to discuss on today's episode of Locked On Devils. So for the final time,
buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils writer Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credentialed media member Trey Matthews. I almost slipped up on my own intro. I mean, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, guys. I'll introduce my guest in a moment, but this is not clickbait. This is not fake news. This is not a joke. This is my final episode being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and to harp on the good times and to say goodbye, my final curtain call. I've brought on some people who have made big contributions on this platform the past 5 years. You know Joseph Stanislaw, aka Jersey Joe. He's essentially been my co-host for all these years. He's on so frequently, always giving his insight for prospects and doing his Sasquatch analytics. And the other guy, Jim Biringer from Full Press Hockey, one of the more underrated credentialed media members out there. Jim and I have traveled across the country together covering the Devils. He's been a big help for me in the press box. He's always had my back, and I've always had his. Guys, I have no notes for this. First time I brought both of you on at the same time, and it took till the final episode to do so. There's no other guys I would have rather brought on to say goodbye. First and foremost, how you guys doing? We'll start with you, Jersey Joe.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 5 years. From the moment I had you on Heads Up Hockey with Jim and seeing you grow to this day, I just can't believe, how successful you pulled this off, building this podcast for Locked On Network. If there's a prospect out there who's making it big, it's you. I'm not joking. Jim can say the same thing. And cheers to what you've done. I've said a lot. Jim, you're on next.
Yeah, I mean, look, Trey's been great to be on here when we have to talk, break some rumors down, try to calm down this Devils fan base because, they can get a little eccentric a little bit. We all see the tire fire that is on Twitter sometimes. But, I mean, it's been great to be on here. It's awesome, so awesome to talk with you all the time in the press box. We go through all these events. I'm honored to be here. Do it, I guess as they say in wrestling business, the last time is now.
Last time is now. I don't know where to begin, honestly. And it's going to be so weird not having to, plan episodes or things like that. And because it's very taxing. I don't think a lot of people realize, a lot goes into, and you guys could speak on this, a lot goes into this job, which is, having to plan, having to work on scheduling, things like that, reaching out to potential guest stars. It's not always easy. And some of the guest stars that I do bring on, you don't see the weeks of talking with the PR department saying, can we do it this day? What's the schedule look like? People don't see that side of the coin. But Jersey Joe, let's just start with memories. Where do we begin?
My God. So I remember over 5 years ago when Jim and I had you come on after I had, what's his name? Will Scouch from Scouching after that time. And we started talking about the lulls of the Devils at the time were starting to come back to earth in 2020. And trying to build from the rebuilding phase. And you have some really interesting sayings. I'm like, this guy has some really interesting, moderation, but he also has a good vision for his podcast that he's doing. I'm like, this guy's going to be a superstar, regardless of being a podcaster or going professional. I love listening to him. I like what he has to say. And I really find that not only are you a great storyteller, you are a great presenter of everything you do.
I appreciate that. Jim, you got anything else to add?
I mean, I think he took the words right out of my mouth. I think the presentation's great. I mean, this is a great network. Lucky to be on so many times. I mean, the content you come up with is unbelievable. Keeping the Devils fan base in check. I know I got friends of mine who listen. Good friend of mine really listens. She's like, "Oh, you heard that Locked On Devils?" I was like, "Yeah, I know Trey. He's a good dude. He's making it big. He's working his ass off like he's supposed to." And you see, it's coming. Hard work does pay off, gentlemen, and you see it. A lot of hard work in this business. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that people don't see, and it's tough to plan these episodes out every day, or you do how many times you do it during the week. It's tough to get everything squared away, but it's always been fun to be on here when we have to talk Devils.
I will throw this in here. There were times where Jim would tell me inside scoops about oh, this person is about to be on the chopping block. And I would text you, Trey. I'd give you a little insight. I would say, source says, this person's about to get it. And, he goes, all right. And then all of a sudden, I remember finally getting to meet you in person. I want to buy you a beer that one night at Mercado Tomato Pie, or right next door, what they would be. It's was it now called next to what used to be Edison Ale House. But anyways, I got you a slice of pizza. So you said I don't want to show up drunk.
Yeah, I technically I'm working when I go to the game, so I don't want to even get a little buzzed. I just avoid alcohol in general. But if it was on my off day, or if I was just going as a fan, absolutely. I remember a fan even said, "Can I buy you a beer?" And I said, "Unfortunately, no. I'm technically working, and I don't want to be seen with alcohol on the job. That's not a good look."
No.
So I guess you guys shared some nice memories of me. Let me share some nice memories of you guys. Jersey Joe, I think the best way to describe you is chaotic good. That's the best way. That's the best way I could describe you, because you do have some great insight, and I always go to you when I need some information when it comes to a prospect or scouting, because I've admitted on my show, I'm not really the best when it comes to analyzing prospects. I'll read the scouting report, but I can't really get a good gauge. Will this player be special? Will this player just, suit up in a few minor league games and just go overseas? I really don't know. But you always pull through, and I appreciate that. You also brought in your Sasquatch analytics and saying this player can lay a lot of hits or do that. And on top of that, you're not afraid to stir the pot a little bit. I remember a few seasons ago, Devils playoffs, they were down 2-0 in the series, and you said they should drop the mitts and start a line brawl. And I said, absolutely not. That's not going to solve anything. And you just open up a can of worms. Or recently, you said Arseny Gritsyuk will put up Sidney Crosby numbers in his first year and rack up 30-plus goals. I highly doubt it, but I think Gritsyuk is going to be a good prospect. That's the best way I could describe you and our relationship.
Right. Well, it's not like I hype up every prospect. There's every few players out of let's say 5, 7, 10 picks you make, only a handful of players may pull it off. So it's as someone who articulates, and if I see a trend in a player who reminds me of a star player, and I love the way they play, it's worth it for me in the end.
Jim, my favorite memory of you is always coming into the press box and seeing you there. We always sat next to each other.
Yep.
And I always said, going back to what Jersey Joe said, Jim is very underrated when it comes to credentialed media members. Like, I remember we were in Vegas for the draft, and he told me, he said, Trey, Brett Pesci is going to sign with the Devils because they went through and traded away John Marino. So they're going to get Brett Pesci. I think he also mentioned Brendan Dillon. Lo and behold, the very next day, it's announced that Brett Pesci and Brendan Dillon signed with the Devils. Jim, a lot of people don't know this. Technically, he was the first one to break the news that Sheldon Keefe was going to become the head coach for the Devils. He said it was a handshake agreement and they still have to do some other stuff to make it official. But it basically, barring anything catastrophic happening, it was going to be Sheldon Keefe. And I gave him credit on social media. I said, yeah, I mean, look, I see a lot of other hockey media members saying like Sheldon Keefe to be the head coach, but I said, no, Jim Biringer, technically, he was the first one to report it.
No, I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate everybody who does that for me. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff I've told you guys off the air and on the air about things and on social media about what goes on with the Devils and other teams. And look, we all kind of, I kind of had a pulse on what happened, when Lindy Ruff was now in Buffalo. After that West Coast trip, I had a feeling that something was going to happen before they came home because you couldn't do it. You talk to people, you get the right people, and you figure out what's going on. And yeah, it was always fun to go to the draft, especially the Vegas one. That was so fun going up and down. And after I ran into the GM in the hallway, I was speaking with you privately to the side, so that was fun. Had some good conversations there. It's always great to talk to the players, those young guys, especially when they're coming up, because you don't know. And again, when it comes to these scouting, these young guys and these players, you just don't know what they have. And it takes some time to, develop in this league.
Every time I would hear a player come up and I go, wait a sec, I followed this guy for a little while and I know what they have, but let me see what they got in like this prospect tournament. And then let me see how they do in preseason camp and then see how they progress in Utica. Like, I'm one of those people, like my mom used to be a teacher and I always like to see benchmarks of how players do. Like, if it's not like someone who's a star player in their own league, I would give like a little bit of a benchmark of like who they play similar to and what they can do better. What are they going to be like down the road in like the next 2-3 seasons? So that's kind of like what I base off my reporting. So like when I looked at Grisiuk, the highest I would go would be Kaprizov, and the lowest I would go would be like Breland at that point. Like Breland was in a different era, but maybe Breland is a really good third liner, second liner in today's NHL.
And we'll talk more about that momentarily. But before we continue, Jersey Joe, you want to make some extra money?
Oh, I would like to. Are we going to be buying some stocks or on that?
Nope. Something a little more fun. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Please remember to always gamble responsibly.
Yeah, no, I mean that's smart. I like that promo coming in at the right time. Maybe the Devils need to do that a little bit more responsibly too when it comes to some contracts this offseason.
I just love how he just jumped right back in, and as soon as I was done with the live read, he just says like, maybe the Devils need to, gamble responsibly with their contracts. I don't care. This is my last day. I really don't give a crap. I'm not going to get in trouble for this. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Fire me?
Like, I mean, look, a play on words. Like, it's a play on words, but like, here's the deal. Like, if you look at it, right, and because people were asking me about PTOs and what happened last year with LeBanc, right, and I'm trying to explain. They couldn't pay even if they paid him. 700,000, 775,000, right? They would have put him through waivers to make this work, and he would have been claimed anyway. So, and you look at the guys that they brought in, and we're talking about memories and everything, but just for a second, you look at all the guys they brought in. Where's the cap space? Because Luke Hughes still isn't signed.
Non-existent.
Non-existent. It doesn't exist. And don't forget. So, and here's the other, because I was doing the math. I had some fun today because I was doing some math today. So now with the new, cap LTIR rules, because it's not the full cap space. Don't forget, it's $3.8 million of Kovacevic's deal, or God forbid, no one else goes on it. You have enough money to finagle to make everything kind of work the right way. So hopefully, everything gets resolved. I always say, it's funny listening to those top insiders, because go back to what Trey said, he calls me underrated, and I really appreciate it. It's just writing what I've been writing all summer about Luke Hughes and all the. It's funny, like deadlines make deals, right? And we're not at the deadline yet per se, because veterans don't have to come until next week. I'd be watching an eye on that Devil waiver. I would be watching my Devils news about Luke Hughes and what goes on, because I kind of see a pattern here. Because if Connor Zary realized missing training camp's a bad idea, I'm gonna start to see those other players realize missing training camp ain't gonna be a good idea.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's because Tom Fitzgerald in early July said that re-signing Luke Hughes was his top priority. Well, ever since then, I've gone to a trip to Italy. I moved out one apartment. I recently got a new job. This is my final episode over here at Locked On Devils. All of that happened before a Luke Hughes extension, if you could believe it. So we're like, over 2 months now since Fitzy made that, announcement.
Something like that.
Yeah, like I've been seeing like the Mr. Krabs memes on Twitter, which I get a kick out of it. I'll never watch that episode of SpongeBob the same way again. But this can't keep happening forever. And the problem is the market is dried up. Like until recently, the last trade we saw was like in late July.
Real trade was July. Yeah.
Yeah, it was late July, and it was a small one. It was between the Avalanche and the Sharks, so nothing like groundbreaking. But it's just like nothing happened in August, and the market is dry. No one is going to bite on Andre Palat's contract. What the Devils need to do, put Covey on LTIR. That'll free up $4 million for right now. But remember, the new CBA is going to kick in soon, so they gotta like get to work on this, and they got to find a way to clear up some money, because putting Kovacevic on LTIR, doing the Vegas method, that's a temporary fix.
Yeah, it is a temporary fix. Real quick before you jump in here, it's a temporary fix, and don't forget, it's $3.8 million of $4 million now because of the limit. So okay, you deduct that from what the upper limit is, which is 95.5. Okay, great, and now you can move out McDermott or whoever. Right, and here's the issue, right? Everybody, I see all these comments about, oh, well, it's this easy. If the Canadians can move Carey Price and the Devils should be able to move Andre Palat. Here's the difference. Carey Price isn't playing. It was a paper move so that Montreal Canadiens could do stuff later on. The apples to apples comparison is like a Kreider or a Trouba contract, right? But I think the team likes him too much. And don't forget, he has trade protection. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. I think he would be willing to be traded, but to a playoff caliber team. Right. So he doesn't want to go to San Jose. He doesn't want to go to Chicago. He doesn't want to go to Anaheim. Andre Palat, more likely than not, wants to be on a playoff-ready team, because albeit he's only played with 2 NHL teams his entire career, but both of them have been to the playoffs more times than not. He's got a couple cups to his name. So I think Andre Palat, while, I wouldn't mind going to Anaheim because you're near Disneyland. Chicago ain't too bad, or San Jose, still California, albeit taxes are really high. But you get you get the point. Like you're still on the Golden Coast, and you could do a lot of things in California, and you'll be making millions of dollars. You'll be fine. But I don't think he wants to go to teams that are still rebuilding.
he could go across the border from California into Nevada and be a Las Vegas Golden Knight, and the Golden Knights like to work the magic with all their cap space. So if that were to be the magic bullet, so be it. But I don't know if they're going to be pulling the trigger for a veteran like that. But they could. They've been pulling things off. They've got freaking Marner, but they're going to have to unload another contract. And over the years, I mentioned Ivan Barbashev as another guy that Devils could, want out of that.
I mean, I've mentioned Barbashev on my show before. And yeah, you brought it up the last time you and I collaborated. I don't think Vegas is going to bite on Palat's contract. The market is just dried up right now. And unfortunately, the asking price is just too high, in my opinion.
It's too high. Teams know they're desperate to move money, right? And so they can do whatever. Other teams are not going to take it, and unless like you're moving, like I always brought this example up, like similar to what's going on with Detroit, right? They want to make trades, but with Detroit, it's like, oh, we want all your prospects. They don't want Andrew Kopp or JT Compher. Like, of course not. So they have to figure it out. Again, this is I wrote it. I'll say it. I put it on Twitter. I'll say it again. This is a negotiation that the team. This is similar to what you saw in Toronto with Matthew Nyes and John Tavares. This is the type of deal that the team has to win. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, while this is the last episode of Locked On Devils of me being the host, why don't we go around and share our quick thoughts on the Devils heading into the season? I'll go first. I want to remain positive about the Devils. I really do. But they haven't really shown me anything that signals that they're ready to compete for a Stanley Cup. Okay, yes, you brought on Carter Brown. He's going to replace Eric Hollov. I'll put my chips into that. I think he'll do well. We'll see. Evgeny Dadonov, this is probably his farewell tour as well. Like, this is probably his last go-round. He's old. Can he repeat the same success that he saw with Dallas last year? You don't know. And, Jim, I think you brought this up last month, which is Dadonov was utilized less as the season progressed for the Stars. So that's what I'm concerned with. Can Arseny Gritsyuk, Jersey Joe, I really hope you could see into the future, because if Arseny Gritsyuk is able to set the league on fire right away and establish himself to be one of, if not the best rookies in the NHL, then that's a steal for New Jersey. And now I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine with me. They didn't have to make a big move. They got Arseny Gritsyuk. They already had their diamond in the rough. Goaltending is going to be good, but Markstrom and Allen are both 35 years of age, and the core has got to stay healthy.
Well, here's the other part of the variable. So, like, you already have Jakub Malik in the minor leagues. He's not going to be far off when he gets a couple of starts in Utica. Let's just say he gets a month in, and let's say Jake Allen has a problem health-wise. He's there. And then one of those guys that
what about
they
Nico
have.
Daws?
Nico Daws, well, he could get called up and maybe.
Well, he ain't getting through waivers because he's on a one-way deal.
So he has to stay on the roster.
He's going to have to stay up there.
Yes, but
that's the problem. But in the end, the Devils may have to trade him because they don't want to lose him
for nothing. Yes, you're right. But
so contractually, moving Nico Daws in a trade is better. You send him to a team like Edmonton that is in dire need of a goalie, and the Devils already have 2 PTO goalies just in case. If they were to feel like one of those guys is ready to take the reins in the AHL. So that way you don't rush Mike Yegorov from Boston University in the middle of the season.
Well, Yegorov probably has one more season with.
Yeah, he has at least one more, if not another one, because he's got to prove it again in college that wasn't a fluke last year. I mean, he's a really good goaltender. Don't get me wrong, but I always say this about the NFL and quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks, and I'll say the same thing. The rest of the league is going to catch up to him. Now you have to adjust to the rest of the league.
Well, if he made it work in Russia, if he made it work in the USHL, and remember, the Omaha Lancers, they were and still are very bad.
Yeah.
And he carried that team. He was still the number one ranked goalie in North America, despite if you were to look at his bulk stats, they wouldn't be good.
No.
You take into consideration that he was on the Lancers, which didn't help him in front. He made 66 saves in one game, which was a franchise record, and they still lost.
It may be an oxymoron. The Lancers may be a losing franchise in the USHL for the most part of the past couple of seasons. They still produce really good development-wise goalies. And it is guys like Yegorov, and then you had a guy like Cameron Kimball, who got traded at the trade deadline after Yegorov signed on with Boston University in the middle of the season and enrolled. So that goes to show you, like, there is a track record Omaha has done, but they just can't do anything forward-wise or defensive-wise to help them win more games. I mean, look at the teams that the Devils drafted from in the USHL. They got Mason Moe from the Madison Capitals. Those guys are a perennial playoff team.
University of Minnesota commit.
Yep. And he's going to be a Golden Gopher for the next couple seasons.
Jim, what are your thoughts on the Devils this upcoming season?
I mean, look, I still think they'll be a top 2 team in Metro. I think they'll be.
Metro's weak, so that's.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're a playoff team. They should be a playoff team, barring injuries. But this team has to stay healthy. Like, I mean, they have to figure it out. Like, somebody's got to stay healthy. That's like my biggest thing with this team is they have to stay healthy, and they can't let. And I think this is the big thing I've noticed over the years with this team. They can't let the little things bother them anymore. If you're going to be a consistent playoff team, you have to figure out a way to work through injuries. Bad play in your zone, bad slumps during the game. You have to figure out how to break out of it real quick. You can't let stuff drag all over it again. You got to find a way to win more than 3 games in a row. Like that first year they made that playoff, 13 games in a row with a win, something like that. Like 16 games with a point. Like you have to put streaks like that together. You can't go 3-3. Like you can't go back and forth. I want to hope to see the team that I saw going into Christmas break is a team I see throughout this season. I think Nico said it best. Play consistently. They all are frustrated. They all know it's been an injury-riddled season, but the excuses and the injuries have to go out the window. They know they can play. Like, they have to play better. They know they have to play better. And that's the big thing to me. Like, and where is the goal scoring coming from, to me, is the other question. Yeah, Gritsuk, he could be good, or he could be like Gusev. Like, that's kind of like my scale of things, and I hope I'm wrong. But, you know, I want to keep my level of optimism because I fell into the trap of Gusev's coming over. He's going to be the next great Russian that comes over. I'm holding my expectations. I hope he fits into the system really well. But New Jersey should be good, but they got to show me something. Like how aggressive are they going to be in terms of making the roster better around their core? Because that's something that they have to do.
And another thing is, like, will the Devils move on from, let's say, a guy like Dawson Mercer who hasn't quite proven himself a little bit, and they could maybe, let's say, go after a Drake Batherson, who may be a little bit older, 27 years old, can score some goals for the Devils, maybe performs better under Sheldon Keefe and Jeremy Colleton.
See, here's where I feel about Dawson Mercer. I feel like he gets too much hate, similar to Dougie Hamilton. Like, if you trade Dawson Mercer away for like another score, I feel like that just you're breaking even. Mercer is a good scorer. The problem is he doesn't really have much help because of all the bottom 6 contributors last season, he was the best one, albeit the bar wasn't set that high.
No, it wasn't that high.
But it's like, but come on, between him, Nathan Bastian,
well,
Eric Albert,
here's the thing. Well, here's my question then, and this is what I've been asking myself the whole summer when I've been asked about this. Is he a wing or is he a center?
He's a wing. He wants to play wing, but how the Devils are constructed, he can't.
But if he's a wing, then why is he playing in the top 6 and doing it consistently? However, when Jack was out, he showed why they drafted him to be a center. So that's the issue. Can he be is he a center or is he a wing? You got to figure that part out too.
Yeah, but like the example I would use, Jim, is go back a couple seasons ago when the Devils had 52 wins. Mercer, I would say, had a career year being paired alongside Nico Hischier and Tomas Tatar. I think Tomas Tatar, he's just fallen off.
He just took a step
due
back.
To age. Yeah, due to age. Tatar was getting older, and he still provided some scoring when he was with the Canadiens, but Father Time's undefeated for a reason. But Mercer paired alongside Hischier, I think that was a good combo. And Mercer even said it best during exit interviews. I don't know if you were there, but he said he would much rather play wing as opposed to center. That's where he's more comfortable. And that tells me that you need to get another center, a bottom six center, so that way Mercer can try to score a little bit more on the wing because that's what he wants to do.
No, I understand that. And here's the thing, like, then you got to then if he's going to play wing, then you have to consistently play him at the wing. That's the thing. Like, you have to consistently play him there. If he has a bad game on the top in the top six, you can't take him out. But here's the issue. This team has high expectations. And we've heard Tom Fitzgerald talk about it. We've heard the players talk about it. High expectations, higher standards. Everybody's held to a higher standard now. So it's everybody up and down that lineup. It's not just I'm not picking on Mercer because he does everything else really well. But is he a 20-goal scorer, 25-goal scorer, 50? Like, that's the thing there. And then on the back end, too, you and I talked about this. The Dougie hate is ridiculous. Like, I never understood it. Like, we're going to trade him away for what? Jason Robertson? Now your D's worse. You're supposed to win now. Like, and then you're going to rely on two 35-year-old goaltenders to win you games? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So, again, let's figure out the line combinations and let's consistently stick with them. Again, depth scoring, I understand, is a good thing to have. Do you know what it is?
In my most recent article, I was talking about one of the reasons why the Devils can't just like parlay a bunch of extra defensive players, whether it be a prospect or a fringe NHL player coming up from the minor leagues. Like, the Devils have a luxury here. You keep Dougie. Kovacevic is going to be on IR. You're going to have Nemets there. You're going to have Pesci there. But you got Ethan Edwards. Luke Hughes is temporarily an RFA, but he's going to have to come to terms and sign on the dotted line with the Devils. And the Devils also have, in another couple of years, Brendan Dillon will be 36 years old when his contract is up. And then Devils could have maybe one more season left of him if he signs a one-year deal, just to make sure Silayev comes in on the left side and teaches him how to be a physical, hard-nosed, hard-ass, on the left side. Like, you need to have a thumper, and a thumper is a Sasquatch.
Quinn Hughes will also become a UFA in 2 years if he reaches to that point. But I think the Devils' best bet is to try to trade for him because I don't know that it seems like he wouldn't reach free agency if he goes somewhere else or if the Canucks completely drop the ball.
Right, exactly, and it all depends on what the Canucks do, right? Like, I think it comes down to the season. If they're back in the playoffs, this decision could come the following year, which I wouldn't be shocked about, because if they make the playoffs again, they may try to keep them around. They have a history of doing that with their players.
All right, boys. We're gonna close out today's episode shortly, but before we continue, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out, and I hope you're enjoying today's episode of Locked On Devils. And this is my last hoorah, so get all your suggestions in because they will be looking for a new host shortly. Okay, I'm sorry, Jersey Joe. You had something to say?
I will say this for so many years coming on here. I've been helping promote, how Devils fans can see what the GM side of things could look, what the prospect and scouting analysis of the team is, and then how could the near and short term plus long term outlooks have been the past 5 years. And we're starting to see things start to pay off steadily. However, the Devils need to go for the kill and bring in another scoring winger. Drake Batherson would be a great idea. I don't know if Mercer stays on for the whole season, but the Devils need to start looking for answers. On top of also going for a bottom six addition, besides having a Connor Brown there, they really need to find that Ryan Carter, Bernier, Gianta, like bottom six line. They need to roll all four. You can't just expect lines 1 through 3 to score all the time. Otherwise, you're going to look like last year, and you're going to get shut out 8 or 9 times.
Absolutely. Definitely agree with you because, Devils got shut out one too many times. And in fact, last couple questions before I'm done for good. Let's talk lowest of lows. Like we talked about how hard this is and how difficult it is to, cover the Devils. Let's be honest with the fan base. Like what are some lows of your guys' career? I'll share mine in a second, but I just want to let's be real with the audience.
I mean, lows. I mean, just after 2012, I think that stretch, just being around the team and coming in, and you make the playoffs in 18, and then you just continue to see first round pick, top 10 picks, and you don't know when is the rebuild done? Are they coming out of it? When is it going to be over? Like, I think they for me, I saw the success. I saw the success as a kid. I was around it, felt it. I understood what it meant to win Stanley Cups for this team. That mentality, the poor drafting, the poor developing, the end of loose time here in New Jersey, this transition from Shiro to Fitzgerald, like the ownership stuff, that was the Kovalchuk contract was, yeah. There's a lot of bad in there. It sounds a lot of bad. There's definitely a lot of bad in there. But it's nice to see this team starting to turn around, but there's definitely some lows that, you make the playoffs in 1 year, beat the Rangers in the following season. It's just like the same interviews all the time. The guys just talking the same way, frustration, like just not make the playoffs the following year was it's tough to be around those guys.
I will say this, like even before Jim and I had our own podcast on Heads Up Hockey years ago, I remember one summer it was Parise who left, and then seeing Kovalchuk go into retirement, quote unquote, and then from there seeing Brodeur go temporarily to St. Louis. That was really hard. Trading for Corey Schneider was a shock. This is why I don't like trading for goalies at the top 10 in the first round to begin with. This is why I rather draft a goalie high rather than trade for a veteran goalie. Because of that, that's why I get shocked anytime like that. But biggest low, seeing Ranger fans sweep the Devils the past few years ago, being heckled outside one of my favorite coffee shops during a trade deadline. Like that was rough, but now back to a high, seeing the Devils come back from down 0-2 to win 4-2 in the series against the Rangers. That was a huge positive swing, and starting to see things starting to turn around. Seeing the positive drafting has fixed that, but now it's time to go for the kill.
Yep. Go for the kill. Let's see what happens. I think for me personally, like I came and hosted the Devils in summer 2020. I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew they weren't good. I knew that they were just rebuilding. I think for me personally, like an all-time low for me was my Connor McDavid fiasco in
I
December.
was there. That was funny. That was funny for how bad. How
It's funny now. It's funny now, but at the time, like when I'm just like at the train station and I just see like some account tweeting it and already has thousands of likes, I'm like, uh-oh. I said this is gonna be a long day for me tomorrow.
I mean, the problem is I was the first one to defend you
Yes.
because like I was in the room and I understood the question, and it's like everybody has to realize I just watched Connor McDavid's interviews that have happened since with his contract. If you ask him the same question or something like multiple times, he will get annoyed. Trey, that was not like it was. I understood the comparison. That's why I felt like it just got blown out of proportion. But
Yeah.
I was also there when you redeemed yourself, which was a great question for McDavid at Four Nations. That was a home run.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to go to 4 Nations. I'm like, David will be there. I'm really hoping I can ask him a question that will also go viral, so that way I can redeem myself. And I asked him, would he like to see 4 Nations return? And before you know it, his answer was shared on TSN, Barstool, everywhere. And I'm just like, wow, this is actually more popular than the fiasco, the Jack Hughes Gretzky comparisons. For anyone who doesn't know, Gretzky compared Jack Hughes to himself, like during an HBO special. But
Yeah,
I admit I worded it wrong, and maybe that's asking. I could have just said like, "What are your thoughts on Jack Hughes?" and just leave it there. I literally could have just said that. I didn't have to mention Gretzky. You live and you learn, but that was a low for me. That was the first time in which I had to turn off Twitter because I'm just like I'm getting clowned on.
You had a little bit of like nerves, butterflies in your stomach. I mean, you're talking to one of the greatest hockey
I don't
players.
think so. I don't think
no,
so.
I wasn't
I was
nervous.
there. He was not
wasn't nervous,
nervous
I just worded it wrong.
whatsoever. He was not nervous because I
No,
was
if I was
standing
nervous, I
right
wouldn't have
next to him.
asked.
He would have right next to him. I was standing right there. I could still picture the question in my head. Like I knew what happened. Look, there's sometimes you gotta take that break, right? Like, cause I know there's a lot. I don't respond to a lot of people on X when it comes to some of the stuff because it is what it is, right? Like we all know. But no, it's great. I mean, there's so many highs to this thing. You talk to players all the time. You talk to everybody. Talk to greats. Interview greats. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some low moments, but hey, you take the highs, you take the lows, and you have fun with it.
All right, boys. It's been fun. 5 years hosting Locked On Devils. For the final time, any closing thoughts?
Oh my God. Well, for those of you trying to think about the Devils' defensive core near and short term, go to Pucks and Pitchforks. I got my stuff in there. You know where I am. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Pucks and Pitchforks. I'm on X. But you got Jimmer right here. He's a fantastic insider.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yes, check me out online. Devils, everybody, just pump the brakes. Don't lose your cool. Relax. Don't overreact. Things will work out the way they're supposed to. This team's on the rise. Just believe. Just gotta believe in everything. Just follow me at Jim Biringer on Twitter. Full Press Hockey. You know where to find it. We're everywhere, and it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. Devils fans, I'm not going far. You'll still see a few articles from me here and there. But in terms of hosting Locked On Devils, it's time to say goodbye. So thank you guys for everything. 5 years. You guys, not only Jersey Joe and Jim Biringer, everyone else who's appeared like Novo, James Nichols, Christy Flannery, Ken Danico, Bruce Shriver, Price Salvador, Rachel Herzog. I could go on.
The list goes on.
Yeah, Don LaGreca recently traveling coast to coast, covering the Devils, giving you guys behind the scenes sound bites, going from recording episodes in my basement to now recording episodes in the NHL press box, Four Nations, the draft. It's been a hell of a ride. Cheers, brothers. That's all I gotta say. Cheers.
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 And for the last time, continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. Unfortunately, I will not be seeing you in the next episode, but I hope to see you guys real soon. Special thanks to Jersey Joe, Jim Biringer, for helping me say goodbye. The pleasure has been mine, Devils fans. Thanks for listening forever and always. Have a great day.